the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the WC podcast. This one's a real special one, a double one, if you will. We have two of the leading economic development leaders of our state. From the Governor's Office of Economic Development, Director Tom Burns, and from the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, Chair Clark Wood. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
And you know, you guys are also my friends. We've now been working together, enjoying each other's companies for a few years. But one of my favorite things that happened, and I want our listeners to know about, is a year ago, Tom, we were able to honor Clark at a fancy ballroom.
Uh-huh.
And everybody found out about these amazing adventures you guys have together.
Right.
We saw some great pictures. And so let's start about, how did this friendship start? How did it get started? And tell us about these football travel trips adventures.
Sure. So Clark and I met in Reno at the University of Nevada. We were both accounting majors at the time. And we started hanging out, going to ball games together, studying together, believe it or not. We did some of that. Had our
Maybe
dates,
drinks at the Waldorf.
a couple
At the Waldorf.
a beer here or two, and that perpetuated on with two other guys that are still very close with us, and we eventually ended up moving down here. We all moved into our first apartments and helped us move in and out of our first apartments into our first homes and put our first lawns in, and frequently had, when we eventually had kids, we all got together as families, and then over the last 30 years. Clark and I and the two other gentlemen I referenced run off for a weekend and tell the same stories we've always told, and have a great time.
That's so cool. Clark, who are the two other gentlemen and who picks the trips?
Good question. So Jim Starr, also a graduate of UNR, and Tom Friel, both had very esteemed careers here in Las Vegas, and Tom still does, and Jim now lives in St. Louis. But it started as kind of a collaborative effort on a UNR away game, and then we would go and have maybe a pro game, or we'd golf on an opposite, an off day. But then it migrated into, let's just go to a really good venue, a really good sports venue, a good college venue, and we just rotate. I picked last year, as a matter of fact, to Oregon, and Tom, it's your year this year. So
it is.
I know he's got to start putting his thought process together. So we just rotate. Every gentleman has a year, and we go, and then we just have a lot of fun.
Yeah, the pictures I saw were like, as you said, venues. I can't remember if it was Lambeau or Soldier Field or all of them, but it seems like you've been to some really great venues.
We've been to, I think the one you saw last was the Army-Navy game that we all went to, which was an outstanding time. And we had one of the nice things about the four of us is that we're a great sampling of our state, right? So I grew up in Las Vegas. Clark grew up in Carson City. Jim grew up in Sparks, and Tom grew up in Tonopah. So there's a great cross-section of our state represented in that whole conversation.
That's so cool. Well, again, I think that I look forward to, I actually met, I think, one of them at the event for Clark that night. Yeah, beautiful event. Got to meet your family too. And so it was really cool to see your friends honor you too that way, which is, speaks a lot about this friendship that we'll talk about some more. So Clark, tell us about a little bit more about where you grew up. Where you went to school, and perhaps even, now we know college. So how did you tell us about your life before UNR when you met Tom?
Yeah, born in Reno, raised in Carson. I'm a son of a school teacher. My dad taught and coached at Carson High for over 30 years. And my mom was a legal secretary practicing in the private sector for several years, and then went on and worked in the Attorney General's office for both DMV and for the Game Control Board her last 18 years of employment. So good quality individuals from the northern part of the state have been retired now for 27 plus years. And Carson City was a great place to grow up in the 60s and 70s. And, a lot of camaraderie, a lot of that independence or the libertarian type of attitude that I tend to have over conversations with this guy, and self-sufficiency and helping the neighbors and helping everybody as a community, because there wasn't a lot of commerce, there wasn't a lot of resources for some of the needs of the community. So we all pitched in and helped each other, and that was just part of the DNA when you grew up. You helped your neighbors, you helped your fellow schoolmates, teammates, et cetera, and it was just a great atmosphere to grow up in.
That sounds good, Clark. And so it sounds like as we go up there, we prepare, all of us, I know we're going to be spending time in Carson City in this legislative session. for you two, it's like going back to your backyards, right? Your homes.
My grandfather was actually sergeant at arms a couple of sessions in the legislature when I was elementary school, and we used to go down there and watch some sessions and stuff.
Wow.
Being in the town during the sessions, you learn a little bit more than I think a lot of kids learn about what goes on in state government.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Tom, how about you? Where were you born, grew up, school?
Sure. So I was born in Fargo, North Dakota, but by the time I was 7, ended up in Las Vegas and grew up really about 3 miles just north of where we're sitting right now.
Exactly.
Right.
You told me, yes.
Yeah. And went to high school kind of kitty quarter across the street at Bonanza. And
Garside?
I went to Garside and then went to Bonanza.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, and the life that I lived here was very much like Clark described in Carson City. And it was a very Mayberry RFD neighborhood. We all got on our bikes in the morning, and some mom would give you a peanut butter sandwich at lunch, and you had to make it home by dinner. And our neighborhoods were tight. And
How did they pick on you without a cell phone?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't. Yes, a lot of
gotta
faith.
get it out.
A lot of faith, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Different time.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Now
Great
tell
time.
us about you first, Tom. Your professional careers. You grew up. You went to Reno and met. Tell us about your professional careers after Reno to where I met you at Craig and Pike.
Sure. So I graduated from college with my degree in accounting. I went to work for Deloitte. I was there for about 3.5 years. It was a great education. Besides being a great job, I learned a lot in that period of time. I went on. I was the controller of a small publicly held company here in Southern Nevada for about 2.5 years, and then I got the opportunity to go to work at Craig and Pike. My dad had been there, was a principal there, and I had grown up babysitting my dad's partner's kids.
Wow.
And so they offered me a job, and just left there a couple of weeks ago. Had been there 32 years, and the last 12 as president, and a great experience, a great family business. I think we had a great legacy, and very proud of that time there.
Yeah, I got to attend a couple of meetings at at Craig and Pike, and what a great culture they have, from the things on the wall that I loved, and I commented to you, to just the people that work there, Dulcinea and others. So I know that must have been, a pivotal time for you to transition from there to where you are now, and we're going to get to that new role. So you tell us about you, Clark. What was it like after Reno to get to U.S. Bank, where I met you?
Yeah. A little bit more job hopping than this gentleman had, and I get ribbed about it every year when we go on football trips. Similar path. I was accounting and finance. Actually, finance first. Tough environment back in the mid '80s. Getting a job if you weren't an accounting and had a good path. So my brother, who was also a CPA, who was also at Deloitte, encouraged me to go back and get my classes needed to sit for the exam, which I did. Started at Deloitte a year or so after Tom. Moved down here a couple years after I had spent the first couple in Reno in the new office we had up there. And then I went to work for a gaming company here locally for Mr. Christensen, as you know. He hired both of us.
Yesterday, he said that.
Yeah.
One of the best decisions he said of his life.
Yeah. I don't know if he's quite.
Call him saying.
Of course, Glenn also has the distinction of hiring me twice, because after he left Deloitte and worked for the Fertitta family at Station, he hired me, and I spent 8 years at Station.
First mistake was on him. Then.
Yeah,
Next one was on me.
yeah, exactly. So I had good background, and as Tom mentioned, the accounting background. I mean, to this day, I still draw upon the lessons and the experience that you get from that tenure there. And then I would say 8 years at Station, and then I got into the banking business, kind of an accidental banker. You'll hear our CEO talk about everybody's kind of an accidental banker. There's very few banking programs in colleges, so you tend to pick that path after you've done something else, and which I did, and I covered a lot of the same companies that I do now, and then including Station. And Glenn was a great customer of mine when I was at Wells, and then spent 4 years down in California working for a tribe as their CFO during the first part of the last decade, and then got this opportunity to come back and lead US's gaming practice, and I do all the commercial lending here locally and then down in Arizona. Great opportunity, great fun.
Yeah, and I know, again, our paths crossed a few years ago, first with the U.S. Bank presence at the Vegas Chamber.
Yep.
And then you invited me to come meet your colleagues at the LVEA,
Yep.
which is different than the LVGEA
Yeah.
and the LVCVA and all these other, LV.
And Tom sponsored me into that group as well. That's a fantastic group of business leaders we have here in town.
Wow.
Great
Isn't that amazing? Every time we turn a page, there's a connectivity between how you got to this place and that place. What Glenn said yesterday was amazing. I think for me, the good news is, again, Mary Beth coined this a few years back, and now Tina uses it. But she says that part of the reason why this good collaboration is happening and the good work is happening across agencies that didn't used to work together, including the Chamber of LVGEA, she says it's because hashtag we like each other. Yeah. Isn't that true? I love spending time with you guys and the fact that we can do work together.
And the other thing Mary Beth came up with that I use quite often is that it's amazing what you can get done when nobody worries about who takes the credit. Right?
Wow, yeah. I love that.
So as we move forward as a community, and we recognize that we have a common goal, the fact that we reach that goal, that everything else will take care of itself.
I love that. I'm very optimistic about what's coming up because, again, our friend is now, in the way our boss in this economic development world. He's going to be leading us. We're going to be supporting him. And so I'll start with you, Tom. You're here because we want to talk a little bit about how economic development and workforce development collide. We've been at this already for a while in our roles, but now again, there's a shuffle. We get Tom, to take on this pivotal seat, and we're going to support him. But Tom, tell us, why is it important to make sure that we're aligning our workforce development efforts to our economic development efforts?
Sure. So, Las Vegas is a relatively young community, right? We're a little over 100 years. And if you look towards our friends in California, or you look to the east, they have some steeper traditions and longer roots as far as educational systems. And our economy being as young as it is and has really grown and blossomed in the last 25 or 30 years, still, especially in Southern Nevada, so heavily relies on gaming. And gaming has been very good to the state of Nevada and certainly Las Vegas. And there's nothing we need to do to inhibit what they're doing. We want them to continue to have their success. But as a community, we need to diversify our economy to get revenue funds from other sources so that we're a little more stable. And as you talk to other industries that want to come to Nevada, and specifically Southern Nevada, they have very specific needs. And some of them are, college level educations, but many of them aren't. Many of them need some very specific technical education and skills.
That's right.
That they need to bring to the table that we can provide through partnerships with places like workforce development. I know you are great in engaging local educational facilities like the community colleges and others, and being a partner in that. And we can lean heavily on those. We can get geared up pretty fast for those needs and those requirements and opportunities, really, for our Las Vegans and Southern Nevadans to accelerate and flourish.
Well put, Tom. I think that yesterday there was an example as the LVGEA that Clark leads convenes not just our higher learning institutions that were there, UNLV,
sure.
Nevada State College, CSN, Toro, as Shelley reminded us, Roseman, WGU, but also the biggest or longest piece of the talent pipeline is that K through 12 system.
Sure.
We spent 13 years in there, and we're developing our future workforce there. And so Superintendent Jara's on the LVGEA as well. And so I agree with you, Tom. I think it's, we have to do a good job as we try to diversify our economy. We have to really mine that entire talent pipeline. I think before I go back to you, Clark, to get your take on why this alignment is important, I want to make sure that we also celebrate the fact that, Tom, under your chairmanship, the Vegas Chamber became the first chamber in the nation, and that's no small feat, to host an American Job Center, to do this alignment. And now others are doing it, but the Vegas Chamber had the foresight to say workforce is important. We want to make sure our members have access to these resources. So first chamber in the nation. We've also, since Clark, embedded workforce resources into the Vegas Chamber and the LVGEA. Tina was talking about it yesterday. And so again, just we're not starting from scratch. We're building on this. But why is it important that we continue to do this, Clark, for you?
Well, I would add they were the first chamber with the partnership with you, but U.S. Bank was the first embedded bank
That's right.
to partnership with Mary Beth and the chamber to offer, free of charge.
Yep.
Our institution wanted to provide small business owners and their teams and their owners with financial service education to better their workforce.
That's right.
And, we talk a lot about, and Tom and I both have kids and they've gone through the system and we applaud their intellect and their grasp of knowledge in a lot of areas. And then they come with these stupid questions about a checkbook and how do I do this? And so we have to get better as a community. We have to get better as a country, educating our workforce, our talent, as they come up through the K through 12 on how to run a business, small business, how to balance a checkbook, what's credit card, what's an auto loan, and we don't do a good job of that. So, I'll echo everything Tom says, and I'll use a sports analogy of Wayne Gretzky, the great hockey player. You don't put the puck to where the gentleman is. You pass it to your teammate to where he's going to be.
Yeah.
And it's difficult because the K through 12 is such an old and archaic institutional body, getting better. And Dr. Jar is doing a lot of great work, but we have to make sure that we're turning that ship towards where the future is. And it's tough because by the time you realize where that's going to be, you're already almost too late to try to make efforts to steer the ship of where it's going to be. So it's a difficult challenge. We all know it, but the idea that at least we've identified some things and know that. And I would also argue, being married to a Clark County school teacher for a long time, and Tom is the same way, the teachers shouldn't just be teaching a subject. They're teaching social skills. They're teaching the ability to just be a good citizen, to be a good worker out in the community. And so I think that as we add more skill set to the teaching resources and the workforce there, that they bring a set of applicants that are more well-rounded, because then they can pick their path and be more adept, say, yeah, maybe I don't want to do a 4-year college education. I can go to this technical school because that's where I know I can get a job. Mike Rowe brings that up all the time with his podcast.
So. Love it. And I think that is our opportunity. I think that Tom is well aware now that employers rely on technology that evolves so quickly that degrees and certificates can't wait 2-4 years. No. It's a constant learning thing, and some technology that supports the growth of business, artificial intelligence, automation, all these things. And so you're right. I think not only does our K through 12 system have to evolve and is evolving, but also our higher learning institution. Dr. Whitfield said so yesterday at the LVGEA meeting. How can we as UNLV, the higher learning institutions, contribute to this shorter term skill acquisition need?
Yeah.
So again, grateful that those conversations are being had at the LVGEA, Tom, and eventually because our entire state needs to benefit from it.
You bet. I think we're starting to experience more conversation around those folks whose outcome and desire isn't a 4-year degree from a university institution, right? That there's value in people that pick up a technical trade, the people that pick up a building trade, those things. And we're starting to see that the respect and the value that should go along with being a valued part of the community, right? Those are great jobs. You can raise your family, you're contributing to the community. And I think we're starting to see that whole attitude change around those. And I'm really excited about that.
I think so. Tom and Clark, in case you don't know, one of our most watched episodes was an episode where Guy Martin, which is a Workforce and Excellence board member, interviewed his father, Frank Martin, who's an LVGEA board member.
Yeah.
And they talked about that. They talked about the importance of restoring the nobility of the trades, as Tom just said. It'll be he said, a great thing for us to move the needle, because it used to be so, but then for a few decades, it was lost.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you said that.
And that's unfortunate. And the contribution that the people in those trades make to our community is something is invaluable. So I'm excited to see it coming around.
And go to any work site, go to any business that is employing a technical trade, and don't think that there's a ton of technology that's embedded into those businesses that those employers need to learn. So it's a constant learning experience, no matter what profession you choose. I use the example of our CEO talking about, he's been with the company 34 years, and he said, the pace of change in the last 3 or 4 is greater than the previous 30, and it's only accelerating. So, learning does not stop, whether it's the first step technical school, 4 years of college education, you have to continue to be able to learn. And I think that's what we have to instill regardless.
Do you guys go have this problem? I hope that you say yes, because sometimes technology forces me to look at the young people and say, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not just me.
No.
I think that's
Routinely.
great. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
That's a great
Absolutely.
example of what you're talking about, that this machine, these machines that help us in our daily work require an interface with them, a language, machine language that we have to learn. And if we don't, we're going to be left behind.
Yep.
Good. You guys made me feel better.
No, good.
A little over,
Why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. A little over a year ago, just by way of an example, I refied my house, and my wife and I did every single aspect of the refinance via email, via web portal, via application.
No live interaction. Wow.
The only time we had a live interaction is when the notary came to the place of employment to do the actual signing.
Yeah.
Everything else, all the passes of data, all the passes of documents was done via the computer.
That's amazing.
And smartphone.
Wow. That's one more. Wow.
That thought process, the thinking of how people react to providing a good or a service. It's amazing.
Yeah. And that's there's so many examples. How we buy insurance today probably happens that way.
Yeah.
How we buy pizza.
Yep.
I mean, so many examples. I remember telling my kids one day, their face goes, I don't know if it's happened to you. We used to book trips at a travel agent. Remember that?
Right.
To walk into an office with posters. Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids think that I'm lying.
Not that long ago.
Not that long ago. So the world is changing.
Right.
It means new skill sets, new jobs. One of the things that I'm really proud of, again, thanks to the Chamber and the LVGEA, Tom, and you're gonna hear more about this, is in the past we couldn't get industry sector partnerships going.
Right.
We tried it at the state level for a long time, and it's just difficult. It's a lot of times we as government organizations run meetings with Robert's rules and Madam Chair and Mr. Chair,
Sure.
and it just doesn't work for employers. And so the Chamber does a really good job of running, meetings that businesses guide with cocktails and food and stuff, and yeah.
Speaking their language then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
And so we finally took a page from there, and thanks to the help of Mary Beth and Hugh Anderson and the Chamber team, we're able to launch in 2022 an industry sector partnership for each one of the LVGEA's target sectors, 7 of them. And, it was a heavy lift. Some of my peers from across the country said, don't do 7 at once, do 3, then 3. We're trying to be overachievers. So we did it. I think thanks to the help, we were successful. So we found 20 or so employers, small, medium, and large, for every one of those sectors. And we have now started to incorporate what we've heard from them, their needs. What they really like was this. They told us this is the first time we feel heard by government, because they said in the past they put us in a room to give us all kinds of data and all kinds of things they had on the shelf already that they wanted us to use. And we took a nationally recognized model called the Next Gen model and said, no, you tell us what you need, and let us go see if it's not on our shelf, how we can make it work. And so that's the direction we're moving in. And some of the solutions, by the way, some of what they wanted was that robust connectivity to the K through 12 system that starts, if you remember in the past, people thought it started in high school. Then people said, no, that's too late, middle school. We're starting in elementary school. And so we're starting to do things with our school district that employers want, like letting them know of occupation skill sets that are needed early on through activity books, organizing visits of the employers in elementary and middle school, an online platform so they can do workshops and presentations, but all of it leading to the fact of what you both said earlier, that by the time they get to high school, they have to know what things they could pick up so they could be work ready if they need to or want to at graduation. And so internship opportunities, hiring opportunities. So before I go and ask you guys, how do we move that forward and build on that? I wanted to give you a gift. I know you're both smiling. See? So one of the things that has, not only have we now won a national award because of our partnership with the Chamber in 2020, the Lori Moran Partnership Award. Last year, because of this business hub model, we won an award from the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals, or NADA. But in 2 weeks, we'll be in DC receiving our 3rd award, for these efforts. And so, but more than those awards, I think the thing I'm encouraged by the most is there's an employer, and Tom, if you're watching, shout out to you, Tom Power from Sunshine Minting.
Yep.
He appreciates what's going on and sees success in it because he saw it happen in Idaho. He said, what we are doing here, I want to get behind it. As you know, we can't use taxpayer money to do this kind of stuff, but he commemorated the launch of these 7 industry sector partnerships in a silver bar.
Wow.
And so you can see here the seal of the Great Seal of Nevada, Southern Nevada's industry sector partnerships, and they were established in 2022. So you both get your own
That's outstanding.
commemorative coin.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll reach out to Tom and give him thank you.
Yeah, please do. And so, Clark, how do you think, again, how do we take our next steps in 2023? How do we build upon these industry sector partnerships? And I know we're cheating a bit because we talked about it yesterday with Tina at the LVGEA, but tell us from the LVGEA perspective, what are our next steps?
Well, you hit it, and identifying steps and relationships that you can build. Tom and I were talking yesterday. He doesn't or didn't sell insurance for 32 years. I don't sell banking products. We're in the business of building relationships. And, the relationships that you've built, and you, like you said, mentioning that these industry segments and employers are going into the district and talking to the educators about what their needs are and exposing the students to that. Those relationships really didn't have a lot of interaction back when Tom and I were going to school. It was just, you did this, you graduated high school, you went to college, and then, you go talk to some potential employers your senior year of college. We need to do more of that. We need to build more relationships with industry and education, and starting it at the very early levels. And so continue to identify gaps, continue to identify areas where we can reach out and build those relationships, because those are going to identify the gaps. And then when we identify the gaps, then we can put resources towards them to solve the gaps.
Awesome. And I want to celebrate, because if I don't, Tina's going to say, why you celebrate Mary Bethlehem? But Tina and the LVGEA, we have partnered now for 3 publications of our Workforce Blueprint.
Yeah.
LVGEA's Target Sectors, the Vegas Chamber is part of it. Again, this is the whole thing about how we are moving the needle. Is not just anymore the LVGEA Workforce Connections in the Vegas Chamber, but now the other chambers have joined us, Henderson, Latin, Urban.
Yeah.
GOED was a part of this latest blueprint, so Tom will be involved with us moving that forward. So again, I think it's important to highlight that we're not starting from scratch, but we want to build upon these already successes and relationship building.
And, break down the silos. As Tom mentioned before, we can get this stuff when people aren't worried about taking credit. In my line of work, we have several product partners for treasury products and payment products and trust and private wealth and all that. But if everybody's in their own little silo, just worried about them, you're not going to serve customers. You're not going to get new customers. You have to break down the silos. And I think we got to continue to do that.
Yeah. And so, Tom, I'll come to you. We have already had, members of your team. Lisa Levine was here a month and a half ago. She knows we're 100% committed to, helping the state and whatever we can, even though we're just the southern region. We know that the state is, also the northern region. So we want to be good partners. Love to hear from you. Again, our commitment to you. How do you view Workforce Connections, the LVGEA, supporting this role now in the Governor's Office of Economic Development?
Yeah, Jaime, I think we covered that pretty good. I see us reaching out and our ability to have communication on an ongoing basis, which is something I treasure between the Chamber and LVGEA and Workforce Connections, and that it's not new, right? It's familiar. It's what we do now. It's the way of doing business. So I think just that atmosphere that has been created through your leadership and others has allowed us to reach out as we have needs and we have opportunities coming to town, and reach out and say, hey, Jaime, I've got somebody coming to town that wants to build this kind of widget. I need your help. Do we already have that? And yes or no, or we'll figure it out, right? And to be able to, that's the blessing of being in Nevada, I think, is to be able to reach out to people and make a difference. That's honestly why I took the job, was the ability to make a difference in our state and to partner with people like you, candidly, that we can reach out and because we're Nevada and we can cross lines and just say, I need your help, my friend, that we're going to get that done and serve the people of Clark County and our state as a whole. Yeah.
Well, we'll be honored, Tom, to do that. Like I said, you have our commitment. If we can't jump on the U.S. Bank private jet, we'll jump on the quickest Southwest.
Southwest private jet's good too.
That's my Southwest. That's my private jet is Southwest too. Yeah.
Okay, we'll be there. Anytime to help you. And I know you're going to be back and forth,
Right.
and I'll spending time, and so
Right.
we'll be side by side with you. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you for this visit. To our.
He booked Brooke Malone before he booked us.
Oh no.
I mean, I would have done that too.
Yeah.
It was a wise choice. I just did
Smart man.
observation.
Very, very smart man. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Brooke and all the team at the LVGEA, I think yesterday we saw it, Clark. Tina's starting to build her own team.
Yes.
Yep.
And we're excited because, again, as another thing I think is really worthy to point out, Tom, is that in the past, transitions from administrations are not so productive, but seeing Michael Brown and Tom, it's been
I would tell you, Director Brown could not have been more gracious and more helpful throughout my transition in. And all three of my predecessors have been remarkable resources, Paul Anderson, Steve Hill. So I've been very fortunate in that way to be able to reach back to a wealth of knowledge. So very fortunate.
All reasons to be optimistic, right,
Yes.
Clark?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would tell you, speaking to a lot of the board members, including you, the focus and attention on the good mandate of really being fine-tuned on our mission about providing really good, well-paying, diversified jobs in Southern Nevada. I don't think it's ever been a better focus of the organization. Tina's leadership, as you mentioned, I think it all came together really at the start of this time last year when we hired Tina. So
yes. Yeah. Can you believe it's been a year?
A year, yeah.
Yeah, we were there in your offices.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yes, it does.
Well, gentlemen, we hope to have you back again. Again, thank you. I know your time is very valuable. We appreciate your insight and your presence here today.
Great.
Honored to be here. I mean, thank you very much.
Well, that's it for another episode of the WC Podcast. We hope you join us at another one. Until then, stay safe. Okay, Tom and Clark, thank you for staying over for our bonus segment called Against the Wall.
Can't wait.
We didn't warn you on this one, right? But we have actually edited our first segment to be called, instead of Family Edition, Best Friends Edition. Are you ready?
Okay, sure.
All right. So I'm going to be asking you a series of questions. And to get started, we're going to go back to the college days. Are you ready? Who got better grades in college? Very good. Who got more dates in college? Oh, wow. Who did the faculty like better? Man, you guys are good. Who was more popular with the other students? Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Who was the morning person? Who was the night owl? Wow. Who was the better cook? Who is the better cook now?
Yeah.
Okay. Either way. Okay.
He's good.
Yeah.
Good one. Who organizes the football trips?
Well, we both.
We found out you both do. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. And others.
Now on the trips, who always forgets to bring stuff? Okay. Who has more sport jerseys?
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
think he's right.
You have more? Yeah, I like your Irish one.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite ones.
Where's the Jim Star?
Yeah, exactly right.
Here's a trick one. Who met Jaime first? Ooh. Yeah, so wow, you guys are good. Well, you guys did really great in the first segment called Best Friends Edition, Tom and Clark.
All right.
All right, you ready for the second one?
Sure.
We call this the favorites segment, and we've modified it a little bit to accommodate the both of you. So, Tom, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
What is Clark's favorite pro football team?
Oakland Raiders.
Clark.
49ers.
It was the 49ers, so he was in the same bay.
Yeah, same bay.
Same bay, okay.
Should have known that.
So I'm going to go with you. What is Tom's favorite pro football team?
Got to be the Packers.
San Francisco 49ers. That's funny.
That is.
You guys like the same team?
Yeah.
Last weekend was not a fun weekend.
Yeah,
for
it
us.
was
Okay,
good.
that's true. That's true. Jimmy, what was his name?
Jim Star.
The
Garoppolo?
Garoppolo.
Yeah, Garoppolo, yeah. He's having a bad week. So, Clark, what is Tom's favorite pro hockey team? And be careful.
Oh, VJK.
Okay, very good. Tom, what is Clark's pro
That's
favorite?
pretty easy. Ditto.
Okay, yeah, because Carrie Boobles is going to be watching this.
That's
Let's make sure. Yeah. Tom, what is Clark's favorite trip with you so far? Of all these amazing trips, what's the one that you think Clark's is that was
to Baton Rouge to watch LSU and Alabama.
Nailed it.
Wow. Clark, same thing for you. What was Tom's?
He's the one that organizes, so I know that's his favorite
he won.
one.
Okay.
True story. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Clark, what is Tom's favorite food? And I kind of, I've been with him to several lunches. What's Tom's favorite food?
He makes this andouille sausage dish at his house and a nice salad, and I would say that andouille sausage dish. And
Yeah, take that.
Wow.
That'd make the list.
And Tom, what about for Clark? What would be his favorite dish?
Something with a good glass of wine, red,
All right.
preferably.
Well, that's a good segment to the
Narrows
next.
it down.
Narrows it down.
It's a good segment to the next one. Tom, what's Clark's favorite cocktail?
Favorite cocktail is going to be Grey Goose, a little dirty on the rocks.
Good?
Yeah, it's actually up with some olives. But close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very close. What about Tom's?
Up until about a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
I would say a nice medium-sized IPA beer, or when we're at football games, maybe a light beer. But then also, Tom's been known to have a nice bourbon or whiskey at the end of the evening as well.
All right. Tom, pretty good.
I'm versatile.
All right. Very good, gentlemen. Here's the last segment for you guys. It's called Finish the Sentence. Are you ready?
All right.
I'm going to start with you, Tom. If you could live anywhere, it would be?
Incline Village, Nevada.
Clark, if you could live anywhere, it would be?
Yeah, Las Vegas, Nevada.
All right. Clark, your favorite thing about your current job is?
Oh, the friendships and relationships with customers. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Tom, I know your job has just started, but what's your favorite thing about this new job?
The excitement about learning a whole new process, a whole new world, and meeting great people. Absolutely.
Tom, if you could travel back in time, you would travel to?
The Wild West in the mid-1800s.
All right. I can see you there. Clark, if you could travel back in time.
I've been watching that 1883, and I'm not sure how well you would do in that, by the way.
Are their hands too soft there, Clark? His hands? Oh, wow.
If I could travel back in time or rewind something, or go somewhere, boy, that is good. But you know what? That Wild West stuff is kind of appealing when you start thinking about what they endured and the opportunity, right? The opportunity that was in front of you, but the challenges that you faced to get there. Yeah.
With all the stories I've heard about you guys, I sure thought the UNR days was going to come up,
They were fun.
All right.
There was a time for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Clark, the best part of living in Nevada is?
The diversity.
Tom, the best part of living in Nevada is?
Just the can-do attitude of the entire state.
Good.
Yeah.
Tom, if there were 3 words that describe you, they are?
Empathetic, honest, and compassionate.
Very good. I agree. Clark, 3 words that describe you are?
I think friendly, inquisitive, and I think I'm kind.
You are. You are. Very good. So, Clark, finally, doing the WC podcast here with us today was?
Absolutely fantastic and thoroughly enjoyable.
Awesome. Tom, doing the podcast here today with us was?
Amazing.
All right, guys, thank you for staying over and doing the bonus segment with us.
Thank you, Rick.